All right, there it goes. Yeah, we'll get back into that discussion in a minute.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Be
Absolutely.
right. I'm just going to play the intro
Yeah.
and give some people time to come in. Looks like Kauai's in the house. I wish I was in Kauai.
Oh, yeah, I know. Woo, love Kauai.
So we got a Arkansas broadcast going on today.
That's right.
It's good to have you back in the house.
Thank you.
Our sister Kristen. I was just asking her a minute ago, what's going on?
Yeah, I think we both just laughed. A lot going on.
What's it been like? 6-7 days straight of? Is that how it's felt to you? I mean, I can't
Oh,
even
yeah.
really get a. Yeah.
It feels like we've been on a no time stream, that is just so deep that there's no context to it. It's just happening, and we're not even there's no like keeping track anymore of days, time, hours. It's just, I feel like we're experiencing these really deep levels of unity and what's coming through us and what's coming through the earth, that it's outside of what we're normally used to relating to it from, like time, space. It's just
Yeah,
completely
exactly.
we're in a new zone. That's what I've been watching, is like this, if we want to put it in terms that we've been using, is a quantum leap of consciousness, a quantum leap of codes coming into our planet to create a new foundation of being. And I know a lot of people are having some really powerful experiences. I had my own pretty intense powerful experience the other night, where I was, I just came back to Arkansas. I was in New York for 2 weeks with my family, and I was only going to be up there for 10 days, and elongated it a few days. And then after that, stay a couple more days, just it wasn't time to leave yet. And I was actually at one point in my car, everything was packed up. My son's in his seat. I'm ready to go. And I'm saying goodbye to my family. And I looked at them and I'm like, I think I'm going to stay a couple more days. And they're like, okay, great. Can we get out of the car? We get out of the car and, go back in and have a great time, and that night that I was supposed to leave, I, was going to bed, and I decided to go to bed early, which was like 10:30. That was early for us at this point, because we always get into a late sleeping pattern when I'm with my family, because we stay up and we're festive and whatnot. And I'm laying down and I'm settling in, just settling into bed and relaxing my body and letting everything from the day just go, and just get into that centered, clear space so I can rest. And as I was doing that, I'm breathing and my son's relaxing and I can feel him relax going into sleep. And all of a sudden this bolt like of energy, light, whatever we want to call it, just shot through my body. And I could feel it like squeezing consciousness, whatever, out of my body. And I left my body. And as I was leaving my body, I was surrounded. I could see this circle of beings. And I went through that circle and into just source, light, whatever we want to call it, and was there for quite some time, or time, whatever, that means. And then as I was coming back in to consciousness, to awareness of body, of self, of individuated being, I was being shown or just seeing, the landscape around me. And the landscape around me was in this space of how we're moving through this this leap of consciousness. And what I was shown many years ago is that as we clear and purify ourselves and come into our pure soul selves and embodiment, we're going to be shifting out of, as a lot of us know or have studied or seen ourselves, we're going to be shifting out of these structures or forces of separation that are our chakras, that are our this, and coming into one light body, right? And I was saying that we're now stepping into that phase of that taking place. And as we do that, as above, so below, and we heal these places, all the other planets will start to come alive too.
Yeah.
And there's going to be, and everyone can go home. That's what I heard. Everyone can go home.
Yeah.
So it's just a powerful time.
It really is. Usually the first show of the day I'm at, I'm just still half off planet. And to start it off with that was huge.
And
that was a great summation. I mean, it was, it's for a long time we talk about things. We talk about things almost in a context.
Yeah.
Almost like a dream. And I'm talking about all kinds of things: Christ consciousness, divine union, sacred sexuality, transcending death. I mean, you can just go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we've said, or that's been said for a long time, has been the dissipation, the fading away of time and space.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for me, especially the last 7 days, and I'm guessing 7 days, my concept of time, I mean, I don't even know, but I'm going to say it sure feels like it's been like 6-7 days straight of almost like a suspended animation. Yeah. Like there is no time. Like, I mean, I lay down, I can't even lay down till 4 a.m. I'm falling asleep at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm up at 10:30 in the morning. I'm lay down again at 12. I'm up at 1, do a show. I have an energy blast. I lay down, I do a show. I mean, it's like, I can't even explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we're being in the stream of consciousness, right? And that's all there is. And so when we step into that, then it's just this space of being without the walls, without the boundaries and limits. And it allows us to access so much more. And then we don't have to, stuff ourselves, our consciousness into any ideas or systems or structures that it actually never fit into in the first place.
That's where that whole trying to figure it out, it's weird because to take actions towards what we want is something we've always done. And it's kind of like, I know it sounds crazy, but it's kind of like, let it all go.
Yeah.
Your soul knows your heart's desire.
Yeah.
The human is part of this journey. Everything's relevant, and just totally let go. But that's very difficult to do just from a lifestyle, conditioning type of a place that we're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was interesting because I want to relate to that, that tension that's created from what we have done to what we're becoming and moving into, the way of being, is that after I had that experience, everything was fine. I felt pretty smooth, and I was just watching and I was hearing, and I was just seeing all the different parts of my life that were changing with what just came through this vessel and the planet and everything. It's like, okay, wow. Okay. So those action steps, right, that we're now going to start cultivating in my field for them to manifest, right, for these other things to come into my life. that I've seen in the past wanting to happen, but now it's like actually flowing through. Right. And so when I got here to where I'm living now from that trip and where that event took place, it was like I was seeing everything from new eyes, new perspective. Like I didn't have any relationship to what I was walking into, even though it was my things, the way I set them up. It was like, this is not mine anymore. All this needs to change, and I didn't really understand, what that meant at first. Like, I'm leaving here. Okay. I'm leaving everything behind. That's okay. I can do that. And
Again.
again. Yeah. And then it was like, it was really my relationship to it that changed. And also, yes, there is going to be a change, in some proximity of experience of leaving this place, to do something else, to create something. And I'm okay with that. But what was happening was my mind started to get active because it was that generating energy, like, oh, okay, great. All this stuff happening. And then I came up against this tension. I came up against that tension and I felt it building in my body. I felt it constricting in my being, especially when I had to go out and relate to the world through some of these systems that we're really wishing didn't exist anymore. Right. And it was like, I could just feel that power that was wanting to embody and move through me start to just go, whoa, constrict around all these other fields that were also coming up to the surface to be transformed. And it was just like this intense moment before, everything just starts to settle and harmonize and integrate, when we go through that tension moment. And I actually had that breakthrough, we want to call it, in this morning, where the past couple of days, my whole body was just like, whoa, with all of this change moving through. And even though I was breathing and meditating and moving, it just had to take its course. Right. Yeah. And so just acknowledging that for everyone is like, just, even though you're in that tension and it feels just maybe painful or uncomfortable, or there's bringing up emotions. Like for me, it was bringing up anger, and it was bringing up even old stuff of needing to be seen and acknowledged, and, things like that haven't really been in my expression, for quite some time. And it felt really odd. It was like, wow, these deeper layers of the ego wanting to come up to the surface to be acknowledged and then transformed. And then this morning, it was like everything just settled in meditation. It was like, whoa, and I just felt this, all this, first it was this form of me and my, higher self aspect, like coming into my body. And then it all just turned into streams of light and just activated, and everything just settled and integrated. And it was like, oh, thank you. Right. Thank you. And we're on a new moon, right? We're in a new moon too.
Yeah.
Right now we're this new field, we're working through a new field through a new moon. So it's just incredibly powerful to set our space, to orient ourselves towards what's wanting to come through us, what this new space is, what's these new intentions or fields, or our souls that are wanting to come through, as well as our relationship to the planet, as the planet's is energy, is magnetisms and rotation is shifting. Because that's what I saw in that vision of when I got, went out of body, was the earth had done another shift in its axis, a shift in magnetism, a shift in rotation, that of course is then going to affect us on a physical, energetic way too. So
multidimensional.
Yeah,
it's going to affect
so
us
much
everywhere.
more, in every aspect. Yeah.
And it's interesting because we've over the years talked about, why is this coming back up? Why is this coming back up?
Yeah.
As we learn to not externalize anything. And I like what you said, because now you said, like, it's more than just looking at it. It's actually doing what your higher self did and turn it into streams of light. Because, and this came to me a while ago. I just put up a little meme, and I didn't know if anyone would get it. How I felt is what you said, which was basically feel everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like anything that pops in, anything that you think it's not you, anything at all. I spent like 3 days with just all different kinds of energies. I mean, probably a couple of hundred, and just the worst things I could think of and the best things I could think of, both that I've done or that I could think of. And it was just like, feel everything, free yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Free everything and feel yourself.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and I just went, okay, what am I afraid of? You know, I mean, I just take something like Morgan being in Australia, what's going to happen, and then just feel it. And I did, and I just felt it. And then I felt the next one and the next one. And I don't know, tomorrow that probably won't work. the way things are going, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other thing that you bring up too, I think that is going to become understood by all of our, all of our parts, the human mostly, is this is happening to every single person and everything, and our everything is Gaia. So everything is changing. And even if we all feel like I want to change too. I mean, I want to grow, whatever. There's a big part of this is it's on everybody. It's bigger than all of us.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But we still have to experience it, right? we are still here to experience it. We don't have to, but we are, and so it's that space where, like you said, it's that freedom to feel. And one of the things that I love to share with people that came through a while back for myself too was embrace it all. Embrace it all. And so that's what I was doing was, when we get into the space, it's just breathing and going, just even if it doesn't feel good, inviting the fullness of it so that we can really truly experience it.
Bring in your demons, because if you cut off their head, they'll just come right back.
Yeah, it's like what I was doing was I was just sending light and love to every part of my body that was constricting around these ideas and needs and stuff that was kind of was really surprising me, and how how much power was in it, because it was like, I haven't seen you or felt you in a while. And I'm like, okay, let's let's be laid. Let's relate right now. Let's relate. What's here for me? What's here in this? Because it's so powerful. And so when I did that, it's like all the power just kind of got to reorient itself to what really is true for this being an expression at this time. And it just needed that space to come through. And so it was, because I have to be honest with you, last night actually, and I said, I'm going to wait till the morning to really decide. I was actually thinking of rescheduling with you because I was in such a crunchy
I feel
space.
like that before every show.
I'm like, I don't know, because I'm such in a crunchy space, I'm like, dang, like and I was like, well, that's okay. I can show up crunchy because it's okay. And then when I had that meditation, everything just settled this morning. I ended up doing a spur of the moment. Actually, right before this, I actually just led a new moon meditation activation. And it was just like, everything just started to expand and flow again, because I allowed that. I took, even though over the past couple of days, I was still in that space of allowing and acknowledging and opening into what was coming through me. It took until this morning for it to finally here we are. Right. So just honoring everyone who may be going through those crunchy moments right now, or have gone, and just say, just no matter how long it takes, keep your presence with it, keep yourself with it, keep your space,
and show up crunchy.
Yeah,
show up.
Exactly.
Showing up can be a lot of things. It can be watching a show like this. It can be going to talk to your neighbor. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's showing up crunchy though, isn't it? That's really what it is. Because we really don't have a choice. Everybody's crunchy right now.
It is. It's kind of like we're getting if we were going to talk about light and vibration and frequency, it's amping up to that level of heat. There's just a lot of heat, and it causes tension. It can cause friction, and so it creates those because as the body's trying to process all this energy, it can create that tension in the body, and then our mind is like, and then it starts constricting too. So remembering to keep as much of the breath flowing, through the mind, through the field, so that the body doesn't, start to have difficulty dealing with these energies, and that our mind doesn't follow into that, resistant space that these energies can sometimes, happen in the body. And it's been fascinating, like you said, that we've been talking about all these things for years. It's like, and now we're in it.
I wonder, I wonder how, I mean, it's so futile to even try to ponder these things, but this whole thing with space and time, I mean, and here's the other thing, is it happening to everybody? And then you have this whole concept of be it physical, non-physical, two Earths or Great Divide, or, I mean, it's a wide open kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I gotta believe that there's a benefit to engaging the fantastic potential, the stuff that we've been talking about, that, you talk about things and you almost forget what you're saying, but now things are starting to happen. Glitches and everybody's being humbled.
Yeah.
Everybody's being humbled.
Yeah.
If your head's in the game at all, you're questioning things.
Oh,
you're questioning everything. So, and then of course it's becoming more of feelings and energy. And it's just like, okay, I start to feel energy from anything all day long, every day. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird,
It is weird. And it's fascinating that, you say that, because one of a few things I'd like to reflect upon is, as we're going through these times, and it may seem like doubtful or whatever that, what we've been talking about is actually going to take fruition on this planet, because it just seems like everything that's going on, outside of the world that we're talking about right now just seems so not in balance or in evolution of that. And with this new energy that's coming through, it just gives us another opportunity to even embrace that. Know that is another reflection, expression of source. And though it may seem destructive and uncomfortable and, just may seem complete insanity or absurd to us, it's still another expression of source. We're just choosing something different. And that the more of us choose something different, whatever that is, there is going to be a balance and harmony that does occur at some point in this experience on this continuum, right? And so it's just continuing to create the world that we want without, and embracing with love, just as we want to embrace the parts of ourselves that don't seem like the best parts we want to be proud of or love. As we do that, it's the same for what's happening outside. So we can create that balance and harmony. And with that, it's a space of I kind of lost my train of thought on one of the other things that you said. Maybe it'll come back later, but it's just,
let's have 3D-itis.
well, it's really just going in any transition or change. It's sometimes, we're going to come up against a lot of what we call opposition, because it's two opposite forces coming together. And whenever two opposite forces come together, it creates the tension. It creates the heat. It creates the magnetism.
It's the sexy.
It is.
It's the sexy.
It's the sexy. It's the sensual, intimate unity that we are. And the more that we're allowing.
It's the courtship.
Exactly.
The courtship to conception.
And what are we conceiving? What are we conceiving?
Exactly.
So, powerful. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, it's interesting because I'm watching people. Oh, this is it came back to me. What you were saying is this happening for everyone? And what I'm noticing, especially, I love my family. They're beautiful, profound, I love them no matter where they're at in their consciousness or whatever. But I'm noticing that people that aren't necessarily putting their focus in this direction of what we're speaking about and what we're bringing through and what we focus on in our lives. I'm noticing that it is affecting them, but it's affecting them in a different context, because they don't relate to what they may be feeling or experiencing in the same way. So it's like, it's normal life with some extra discomfort maybe.
Yeah.
But because they're not, going, hey, I'm evolving in my consciousness, I'm going to use this as a tool. They're just like, oh, that I got another pain or whatever, whatever it is. And you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
like, okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, like, I think that's one of the, I think there's this feeling that at some point, all the human stuff goes away, like
Oh,
the doubt and, whatever. Right.
distrust and
And,
mistrust. Yeah.
we talk about flow, we talk about synchronicity. There's something bigger than us that's bigger than us, and there's definitely a change, and there's a lot of stuff that point to that. I mean, the movement of the celestial bodies. I mean, there's just all kinds of, there's old text. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we retain some of these very human characteristics while we're getting all these downloads and having all these elevations. And it's a bit challenging because you're going from genius to nothingness. You know what I mean? You're having these points no matter who you are, because it's a very humbling experience.
It is. It really is, because we're in a space where soul and human are merging, and what does that get to become? And however we're choosing to relate to the experience is what it's becoming. Are we going to stay in those old distortions that we called human? Was this, because then we even get to ask, what is actually human?
Yeah.
Because there's been so many, implants, overlays, distortions, through our field, as well as, some of us, the hybrid energy, the hybrids, and what actually is human. And so it's going, well,
That's very
okay.
true. That's very true. That's very true. I mean, seriously, I mean, what was the human, right? And think about it. If you look at it in that context, the human is the human and always was the human. That's kind of like a stagnated consciousness. You just box it in as that. The humans actually, I mean, this is incredible, because if you look at it galactically or even ethnically on the earth, we are just continuing to mix our blood, mix our energy. The physical is a physical representation of the energetics that are happening. We are all this stuff, everything. Nothing that's been shown to us isn't inside of us. So this is not like a boom. This is like a kaboom. I mean, this is like, and at the same time, that part of us that was the beginning of us in this series of incarnations, the human, is still there.
Yeah.
And it's worked its way through all these millennia to this point where it's actually what you said, the merging of the soul and the human. What is that? Well, I think that's something new.
It is. I feel that from my perspective and what I get to witness, through my field, through the greater collective field, and through, individuals that I, work with, and individuals and groups. It's fascinating, because there is, like you said, that questioning that's happening. And sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes I'm like, I'm done sharing what I'm seeing in the multidimensional field. I'm done sharing, like,
right. Like, what's the point?
because it's not that what's the point. It's almost like, I just want to live my life, right? And my life would be super connected to all those things, but not in a way that it has to be broadcast, right? And so it's like, what would it be like if we all just lived our lives and were connected into our selves, our soul?
Yeah.
Right. Because right now what's happening is there's those of us that are out there connected to these spaces, supporting people to come into their bodies as a soul. Right. We're like supporting the field for this to take place. And so it's like, wow, when will we be in that space? I know there's always going to be teachers and maybe masters, or just people, way showers and visionaries and all of those things. But what would it be like if we just were tuned into ourselves and that was it?
Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't about ascending or inscending. It was just being in tune.
Yeah.
And just living from that space.
I got I had a download just a personal download a couple of weeks ago, and I don't remember the specifics of it, but I remember what it was about. And basically, it came in really, really thick, and it said, "You guys have already done it."
Yeah,
Oh, I know what it was.
exactly.
I know what it was. It showed me. I was researching, and I looked up light language on YouTube, and I got like 1,000 channels.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I got the download that said, "Look, it's not, let's say the quality of the light language. It's not that. It's the fact that they're putting it out there. This is just a representation of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's already happened, and it can't be stopped now. It's just more and more people that are exposed to it. It's full of code, all the work that everyone's done, and it's done now. And I kind of had this feeling at the end of it along the lines of what you're saying. And in that moment, also my life, reflecting that, like, what do you want to do? What do you really want to do now that the work is done? Do you want to keep doing the work? Do you want to, what do you want to do? Do you want to travel? Do you want to, what do you want to do? And maybe that's something that, there's some truth to, and maybe that's part of what we're feeling too, is because I have heard people say that some of it is, what's the point? As in everyone's getting it anyway. You know what I mean? Like there's something to be said for when you pull something in, you're actually anchoring that for yourself, and there's that connectivity that we know exists.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the space that I feel like I'm being called to come into, to create. So from some time back, there was a vision of creating a certain space on land to just be an example of what it's like to live in, the pure crystalline energy that we are, of a light body. It's like, what would be one expression of that? Not the expression, but what would be one expression of that on this planet? What would that look like? And so that's what I'm stepping into now, and goes, well, what does that mean? It feels like it's just going, okay, I'm going to be on this piece of land, and this is what wants to be created through this piece of land and through us, whoever's on the land, and of what that means to live in more unity, to live in more consciousness, to live in the crystalline grid, to live in generative energies, to live in this space of how we are optimizing source energy through us. And that's all we need to do. Right. So it's going, what else do we need to do? If people want to come hang out with us, great. Right. As long as they're in integrity and you know
what that is? That's showing up. What did you say? Crunchy. That's showing up crunchy. Well, I mean, it is. It's showing up crunchy. Like, what do you want to do? You create that. I mean, are you going to put your makeup on every day before you come out of your teepee? You know what I mean? I mean, you're showing up. You're just being you, and it's a bit strange. It really is, because it's like I don't know if I want to say it like this, but let's say those who part of their understanding was to expand awareness, and there's so many examples of that.
Yeah.
And there's been a struggle, as there is with, every human being in the spectrum, between ego and soul, because I mean, we're getting these big downloads, and wow, I mean, not everybody's getting them. And so you went through that whole thing. And so we've always been, kind of on point with, knowing that's part of, what we have to keep in line.
Yeah.
But now it's almost like all the cords have been cut, and we're just like in that experience that you had once you shot up past the ring of elders and into that. It's like we've been released into that kind of playground, and there's no structure.
Yeah.
And we're in form, creating from the formless. I mean, this isn't 3D. This is, I don't know. To me, it's more like 99D.
Yeah. And, that's the space. It's unity, right? So when we're actually transforming 3D, we're transforming because as we are transforming as consciousness, as pure source intelligence, and we're coming into more consciousness, and we're playing with consciousness, the dimensions are also shifting in consciousness and expression too, right? So can we allow ourselves to even go, can I stop saying this is 3D or this is 5D or this is whatever? Because what if even those are not the same anymore. They cannot be the same anymore. I mean, the fundamental structure and foundation of each dimension has a function, right? But every function has multiple expressions,
Yeah.
right? And it still holds the fabric of reality together, of experience, of consciousness together. But it's always changing. It's a relationship. It's a communication, right? And so as me and you are communicating, we have different people coming in and communicating. It's always changing the geometry of our experience, right? Because it's light, it's sound, it's vibration. And so what we're experiencing is even Earth itself, all of our, because every time we go through a shift, every time we say something, every time we think something, every time we feel something, the field changes, the geometry changes, the communication changes, right? The level of connection changes. And so even though there is this, the fundamental structure or stream of consciousness that is reality, what is 3D?
Yeah, true.
We've created
Just another
this
label.
box.
Just
Yes, we've
another label.
created this box
That's right.
around what 3D is and all these perceptions. And we keep saying, oh, 3D. And it's like, let's even let that go.
Yeah.
So it can be what it is.
And that's a huge leap to even be talking about that. If you look back 50 years, what levels of separation, just programming as unconscious quantum creators,
Yeah.
and look where we've come and how fast we've come. But I do totally get your point, and all the more reason that I take very seriously, and I think everybody here does, which is the responsibility as co-creators. And what I'm saying is one of the reasons it's getting more humbling every day is because we're being asked to look deeper every day.
Yes.
We're being asked to break down the prejudices that made the prejudices and the biases that made the biases, and right down to the last conversation you had or the last thing you did. And at the same time, you got this whole thing going on of it's never them, it's always me. Yeah. And there's a truth to that. There's an absolute 100% truth. And I don't know that anyone can go step into it like turning on a light switch, but I think we've made personal progress and we're making collective progress. And that's, to me, the biggest force in terms of what can change things in the world.
Yes. Yes. No, I feel that. And so once we step into that space where we're willing to allow what is to be what is, and in its expression in any moment, and take the ideas that we've had about it and see, can I see that through a different perspective? What even is the perspective to look through right now? And that takes that inner reflection, right? That takes that moment to sit and be with the self and inquire and be connected in that space. Because a lot of times what we find when we do that is there is no specific definition that it has to be. It's whatever we want. It's whatever we are choosing to look at it as.
Yeah. It's
right?
like you drop the judgments start to fall away, and there's this natural frequency of integrity, I guess. Integrity, in many ways. Purity would be another one. Like, in other words, to be having these conversations at that level within yourself, where those things that are our biggest influences here, such as self-judgment and judgment of others, you get to have a conversation where you're seeing it from the higher perspective. And I guess what I'm saying in a nutshell is ultimately every day we're being asked to live to that more and more, walk the talk. The talk. I mean, that's a conscious human effort with all of its being to continue to try to expand, knowing that there's a perfection to the imperfection of the process.
Like the chaos order paradox,
Right.
It's just like the infinity of all that is constantly moving together in one moment, and it's like, whoa, can you be with and try to look at something from all the different angles, from all the different possible expressions that it could have? I mean, if you play that game with it, right? If you can look at something that maybe you're struggling or challenged with, go, wow, what other possible expressions or angles could I look at this from?
Yeah.
And then sometimes it takes us into kind of a fun place. And then once we get back to that place where we were, it's like, whoa, that's like
not.
totally not even
Sometimes it's
worth,
not. Well,
worth
because
putting
you'll be like,
attention on.
Like, you know, a lot of our lessons come from human interaction. It'll be like somebody makes a comment or sends you a message, or you talk to somebody, you know, and you're thinking in so many terms, why did they say that?
Yeah,
Like, what's wrong with them? Like something's wrong. And then you start to understand you don't understand what they said. They understand what they said. Just like
right.
you understand what you say, and you can't control if they understand what you say.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a it's a toss up. I mean,
I had that funny connection the other day where I was saying some things and I felt the response from the other person was totally not even where I was coming from. And I'm like, so how do I convey this in a way that we can see what, you know? And so then I finally just got to the point where it was like, just don't say anything.
yeah.
Just receive whatever it is they're saying and don't say anything, because there's obviously, you know, a point of a gap. And so when we can allow the gap, right, and not judge it, then it's like, oh, okay, well, then that can open up the field for understanding,
Yeah.
right? And self-awareness and consciousness, and then be like, oh, okay, you know, I know wherever they're at, and wherever I'm at, and there's nothing there. It's just, it's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay. Right. And so I feel that more and more in communication, and I think more and more in our fields, what I'm sensing is, you know, we're really getting that embodiment piece that everything that exists is within us.
Yeah.
Right. Everything. And so when we can take that step back, we're more in a subtle place. And I think that's what we're being called to do right now, is enter into those really subtle spaces rather than feeling like, you know, everything has to be some experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like settling.
Hey, it's the whole thing. This is the hero's journey. Everybody's on it. Okay.
Yeah, it is. So let's just breathe into it and just kind of breathe into the subtle spaces of our awareness, so those experiences can have a much greater field of awareness and wisdom for us to have, rather than chasing the experience. Because I feel like that happens a lot in like the spiritual community, is we're chasing an experience. And someone that I was working with the other day actually said something like that. She goes, she said, I feel like I'm chasing the understanding of what I already know.
Maybe embodiment or alignment. What she was feeling. I don't know.
Well, what she was feeling is, you know how we already have that sense? Like, wow, we already have that sense of something. And it's like, we can deeply feel it in meditation, or we feel it in those subtle spaces. But then when we come out of that subtle space, our mind's like, oh, I got to go read about it. I got to go because I don't understand, you know, I've got to go read about it, because the mind starts to activate. And so what if we just settle the mind? I feel like that's what we're being called to do, is right. Let's settle the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Let's settle the mind so that those knowings become the beingness, because we don't really, the inner standing, right? So that we're our own source of the wisdom, instead of like activating, you know, activating the brain, which wants to lead us into all these places. Because that's what I notice a lot, is people start chasing the experience. Oh, I got to listen to this activation. I got to listen to this light language. I got to listen to that, because that's what's going to help me evolve. And then all of a sudden their energy is so spun out, and they're so spun out, and they're like, I don't understand anything. I don't know what any of this is. And I got to have more of it, you know? And you're just like, can you just chill out? Like, take a breath. And I understand, because there's so much going on, and people want to experience and have the experience and understand it and evolve themselves. But it's like, I feel like what's in the field now is like, have the experience, but also take time to integrate and listen, and just listen to the self. you know, and and allow those spaces to come in. And then when you feel that there's an impulse, you know, check that impulse.
Yeah.
You know, is it really needed, you know, to go do these other things? Or is it okay to just sit more with the self and just do your life from that
Yeah.
self subtle place? Yeah.
Yeah. Very true. I think
Yeah.
that's that type of code's out there now, especially recently.
In
You
here.
know, like
Yeah.
that self-observance, that sense. It's less like a visionary type of thing to me. It's more of a total sensuous kind of experience, and that's like just. I noticed it with habits.
Mm,
You might call addictions,
mm,
and you know, something you smoke, you drink, you eat.
yeah.
You know, there's all different kinds of things,
Yeah.
and then I started to sense those energies that were the same thing, that could be anything, could be me calling my brother every day, 2 times a day, like clockwork, like anything that's I guess at the end of the day a distraction,
Yeah.
in terms of what we're doing and what seems to be happening, because there seems to be a continuous push to be present. And in that presence is where, you know, everything seems to happen very effortlessly without us trying to do anything, which is probably why time and space are fading,
Yeah.
whatever that's going to look like. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, the relationships that we have with things are a great start to explore, you know, ourselves. And I think that some moments, like for me, some moments I have those things like, oh, you know, gotta have sugar or chocolate or, you know, something. The energy is just, wow, you know, and it's like, okay, great. And what intention, what space am I coming in with that? And I'm okay with doing it. And maybe, some,
Yeah,
you know, having the
absolutely.
consequence as a result of what that's going to feel like. It's like, right now, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah,
it's kind of like, I think, you know, we can get, because you know, I have this sense and vision and way of being really pure in my body and my space of what I put in it, what I put out, you know, everything. And I know it's not always like that because I'm still growing and evolving. And at the same time, it's not letting ourselves get in any dogma or rigidity about what we're doing
yeah,
with our
yeah.
bodies,
If
ourselves,
you
our
reach for a
experience.
chocolate, are you reaching with resistance? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you're no, I can totally relate,
Yeah,
because
totally. Yeah.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
been juicing like the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I have try to have one meal a day. It's been an interesting journey, but to what you're saying, and please continue to what you're saying, it's like what I started to notice was, what was I feeling when I reached for whatever it was?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was
Mm-hmm.
like riding a bicycle, and I went, "Whoa, wait a minute," you know. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's always staying in that space. It's even, you know, taking it like, what was I thinking? It's like, even when you stub your toe or you hit yourself like on a wall, if you're walking or something, it's like, what was I thinking when that happened? What wanted attention?
Hmm.
Right. So it's like, what wants attention when we're reaching for things that we have thought or think is out of alignment with what we actually want to create, right? And it could be any part of our life. It could be choosing to
Hmm.
relate to someone or go out somewhere or do something that's more coming. Where is it really coming from?
Yeah,
The Ein
yeah.
Sof, absolutely.
And to me, this is good. I mean, this is kind of,
Yeah,
because it's making me kind of understand what was happening in more in depth, which was basically
yeah,
what I came to basically was just to be present with myself.
absolutely.
And I ended up
Mhm.
laying on the couch for hours and hours and hours. You know, half the time the TV's on, a quarter of the time I'm watching it, maybe, and
Yeah,
just kind of, I guess it was integration,
yeah,
and
mhm,
it feels like it's still going on.
yeah,
I think for a lot of people.
yeah. I
Do you
think
think?
it's
Do you think something? That's a dumb question.
this is a dumb question. Yeah,
How? I mean, what was it? It was the end of May was an eclipse. I think what, 10 days, 12 days into June there was an eclipse or
yeah,
something, and there was I don't know. And then there was the solstice, I mean, has this been the most powerful few weeks that you can recall?
I would say so, yes, because it it just feels like every time that we shift into another geometry, we shift into another level of consciousness. I mean, that's what we're doing. So it just gets more and more um, full. And that's when we see in unity, is that when we're tapping into these unity spaces, there's so much more to experience within it. Right. And I feel like that's what we've been moving through all of these years. Is at first it's like, just like when you start your own, if we call it awakening process, or our self-awareness process, or awareness of all that is our, life itself, it's a little bit at a time. And then the more understanding we have, the more we can take in. Right. And I feel like that's what's happening, is the more
Mm,
that we're entering into this greater field, it's just going to be more power. It's
mm,
more energy. It's more depth, because
yeah.
there's so much more awareness
And it's changing.
possible.
It's changing
Yeah,
fast, and
it's
it's
fast.
a bit of a challenge.
Mhm.
Obviously, I mean
Yeah,
that's probably the gist of this discussion, and
yeah,
most of
yeah,
the discussions here to some level or another.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And it's
but
just being in tune with ourselves, right? I mean, I
yeah,
think that's the biggest piece that we're coming into, is right, just being in tune with ourselves so we can navigate. Like, where are we not in tune with our thoughts, our body, our feelings, and just like you said, be present. And that's
yeah,
where the tuning comes in.
yeah, yeah, and it really has been a very interesting journey because of the development and the, I guess, commentary or the sharings of how people are feeling and how this is all gone. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
this is so many people I come into contact with more and more every day talking about finding their soul tribe, and not being designated to one group or, one platform or one community, but actually this huge tribe kind of
yeah,
mentality
yeah.
that's as a priority focused on their internal growth. Now, regardless of their level of success or failure by whoever's measurement, the intention of that energetic force and the fact that there's so many, has got to be having a very powerful impact on the grid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about it, I mean, so many of us are sharing this space of, just being centered, being within our own presence, being, like we were talking about earlier, the judgment piece. It's like, well, what is non-judgment? It's, we're stepping into that space of neutrality. We're stepping into that space of really honing our focus, our space, so that when we are, because one of the biggest pieces that I share with people through meditations and just through inner guidance and things is just really getting to know where we are in our space, where we are in our bodies, where our attention and our focus is. And that the most important place, through our experience is our center. And when we're in our center, then we have more access
Mm,
to ourselves. We have more access to knowing. We have more access to wisdom. We have more space to
mm,
experience from, that allows more wisdom to come in, more choice, more ability to flow, to flex, to be flexible and adaptable to what's happening around us and within us, so that it becomes easier to flow.
yeah, yeah.
So when we step into that space, then we're capable of really sensing, really being in a space of that self-reflection. And then, the more of more people that are holding that space on the planet, is definitely creating a very strong field, and it's easier to tap into, right? And so it's a lot of energy at first. It feels like a lot of energy at first to maintain balance or center or neutrality or focus. But what happens through that is we purify our space easier when we're more centered, and we find that space within, wherever that is for somebody. Some people it's their heart or their third eye or their solar plexus or their root, or sometimes, like for me and other people, it's like your whole field. It's like, because you've just become that center, right? That center is your whole field. And when you can step into that space more and more and more each day, and you step into your center, wherever that is, and you allow yourself to grow from that space, then it's limitless. The potential is infinite, for what we can create, what we can allow and become. And that's where all the power is. That's what, the mystics, it's like, that's where everything ever was, is, and will be, exists.
Right on.
And that's who we are, and recognizing that and just allowing to really be that. Yeah.
So there, and I have this thought too, really. Like, we think of neutrality and 0 point as being the center, and rightfully so, the center of, or the dividing line between dark and light, or however you want to put it. But like, we are the 0 point. So the 0 point is the entire field. And like what you said, looking for a place, for instance, in the body or in your field, we can look anywhere. You know what I mean? We can find it anywhere. And it's like, the bigger that field gets, the more exploration, you might say, that we've done. And I think that's a big part of this experiment or experience on Earth, is to really visit the extremes, so that we could increase the size of the field, and as a launching pad for, as they say, bigger and better things. So I feel like we've crossed some kind of threshold in 2021. And there's things happening more and more every day that might have been considered too fantastic, even by these communities 5 years ago. Because you know what I mean? I mean, it's absolutely the unknown when you get right down to it. When you get right down to it,
it really truly is. It is, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. I feel, is like really allowing ourselves to be okay with the unknown. Because when we're in the unknown, that's that centered place. Because really, what is that? That's where. It's like, what is everything that exists? We don't know. And there's so much more coming out into the field of what does exist and what people are creating and what's possible. And so it really allows, when we're in that pure centered space, there's that, like you said, that 0 point, or the stillness, or the source essence, or the void, however you want to relate to it, where what do you get to extract from that void? What do you extract from the stillness and express through you and create, right? It's like, this year is, I feel it's a pure year for optimal creation of what wants to come through you.
New lives, new earth, new community,
new body,
new universe,
new experiences.
Body.
Everything. It's there's and so that's the field that I feel like we've come into, is that limitless knowing, that limitless wisdom, that limitless source intelligence, that it's up to us to have whatever relationship with it that we want to have, and that maybe is wanting to come through us, that what we agreed to as a soul, and the more that we're allowing the quietness, to be quiet, to be still in that subtle space and just watch and be and experience, then
I think sometimes we look at the human story and we look at it as these low level black sheep that just kind of came up the hard way, that were challenged, mentally disabled, whatever, but when you really think about it, regardless of the level of memory swipe we've had, or DNA retooled with, or whatever, we got to remember that we're containing within all of us all the failures and successes of not just the Earth story, but
Right.
everything that came before it, which is everything.
Yeah.
And then if you throw on top of that the fact that in our, let's say, our more recent past, we had Atlantis, Lemuria,
Mhm.
Avalon, some that we know about, some that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And those, let's take Atlantis as an example. You can see that at a technological level, it was extremely, extremely high vibrational.
Yeah.
And yet there was a story in terms of the spiritual connection or alignment and so on. But we have all that. We have all the battle scars, and now we're walking into this field of plasma that's just like formless, but there's form, and you can create the energy. I'm speaking metaphorically, but not for long. It'll be literal. The energy is one of instant manifestation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work by human logic or rationale.
Mm-mm.
And it doesn't work by being right. It just works by something we're actually all trying to describe, which is get out of the way and shut up, in so many words.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, because we've definitely entered a new cycle. We've definitely entered a new cycle, and it's up to us to, continually create a new cycle that's, more centered in balance and, unity and connection. And I know, and it's fascinating for me to look out in the world and see what, some of the bigger companies and people are wanting to create again. Like, here they go. They want to like just recreate this cycle that led to the downfall of the other cycle. I'm like, okay, have fun with that. It's like, have fun with that. And,
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
going
that's
to
the
stay
thing.
over here and create this,
That's the thing about these savior programming types of, I don't. I think at some point, sooner than later, if not already, it's a complete, and it's not. It's not throwing shade on it, but it's a
Right.
complete disengagement from 3D. That's a very weak way of explaining. We're talking about an energy base. We're talking about a consciousness, a conscious field.
A
And
total power structure that has held what we've called 3D in the form that it has been. And as that's changing, and the more we unplug, you say, the more that we unplug from those consciousnesses and stop putting our power towards them, then, like we were talking about earlier, the expression of 3D can be what it is, as
that's
truly
right.
as we're creating it,
That's right.
and
That's
then
right.
and then there's less power in those fields of those people, those things, those experiences that are wanting to create what they're creating, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not interested.
That's right. That's right. So one way or the other, you're checking out here.
Yeah.
And so let's just say what we're talking about is 3D labels, whatever. Let's just say that it becomes Orwellian to the nth degree, where everyone's on a government subsidy, everyone's told where to work, what to do, rations. I mean, the whole futuristic deal. It's pretty simple. I mean, you make your mind up here. When I say here, I mean in your field. Like, I'm done. I've had enough. I'm either checking out and going on to the next rodeo, or what we're all doing has some validity to it and credibility to it and substance to it. And maybe the difference is what we think we can do, what we think, how far we can push past our limits. I mean, we're in charge of how the movie goes. And I know that sounds like a new age cliche, but either you're believing that and have faith in that, or, and I'm not saying I'm immune to it, or you say, you know what, I'm going on to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's I guess what we could just share right now with the intention, especially with this new moon, is what do you want to create today? What do you want to create for your life? What do you want to create for the earth? What do you want to create for the omniverse? And allow that power, allow that stream to really strengthen your capacity to be in that self-reflective place, as well as in the space of connection and unity to all that is, so you can be who you are here as a soul, and have fun doing it and creating it. And one of the things that I feel, especially through this new moon and everything, is just taking the pressure off of the experience.
When is the new moon?
Today.
When is it? Today? Do you want to take us through something? That's up to you. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. You
Yeah.
already showed up crunchy. That's my favorite phrase now, crunchy. How you doing, man?
Yeah.
Crunchy. How you
Yeah,
doing
that's
today,
right.
Crunchy?
Yeah. So,
That's a ascension, new ascension, urban dictionary type of thing.
the
Crunchy.
new age slang, crunchy.
It'll be on
Yep.
everybody's bumper stickies of the year.
um, yeah, let's just take about like 5 minutes and then we can close it out. How's that? We'll just take like 5 minutes and I can lead everyone through just an intention, new moon setting, source creation, code, meditation.
Right on.
How's
Right
that
on.
sound?
If you're up for it, that's cool.
Yeah, let's do that. And then does that
Up to
sound
you.
good to close after that?
Right on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if you'd like, all who are listening to take a moment, close your eyes or keep them open, whatever you wish. And welcoming yourself into this space is acknowledging yourself, acknowledging your presence, acknowledging all that you may have received today, all that you may have been receiving over the past few days, this year. And breathing into the body and allowing your body to just take some moments of breath in and out. Breath, your breath that is pure energy, pure life, pure source energy, intelligence, light. Just breathing in the breath of life through the body. Allowing it to fill your whole body. And on your exhale, exhaling this pure light. Recognizing yourself as pure source intelligence of being. And allowing anything that you may have been feeling challenging for the last few days or today or this year, just to settle, asking your body to integrate your mind, your wisdom, your soul, this connection to source energy to integrate through your body, through your mind, through all of your fields, calling in harmony through all of the fields of your being, energy, body to physical body, harmonizing all that you are. And as we're in this powerful time of new energy for all of us in existence and all of us in this moment through the new moon in a cycle, breathing into the body this light and energy and receiving through your being, your body, and your intention that you'd like to create. What is new wanting to come through you? What is new that you would like to create? Or something that we can say that is pure and source energy that wants to come through you. And just bringing this through in this moment, through your body, through your field, allowing yourself to breathe. Breathe into your body, your space. And if you can in this moment, just breathe deeply into the body and ask the body, where is my center point right now? The center point where all is balanced, where all is in harmony, where all of my beingness and intelligence is present in its fullness. Breathing into this space. Breathing into this knowing, this intelligence of yourself, of source. And letting yourself breathe from this centered space, wherever it is, through the whole rest of your body, the whole rest of your field, connecting all of your cells, every particle of your physical body, and every element of your energy bodies connected through this centered source harmonic of being. And breathing through, allowing the body to relax, allowing the mind to settle, inviting into your awareness, into your body, more of you in its purest form. More of you in all that you are, in your limitless capacity that is also grounded and capable of moving this energy through into its expression in this world. Just breathing through the body. Taking a moment here and settling more deeply into the body. Beautiful. And as you're breathing through the body, giving honor and gratitude for your life, for your path, for your journey, where you've come from, where you're going, where you are, and all that are in this circle right now that are also on their own paths and on their own journey. And recognizing all the parts that we all play that create the unified field of existence that we get to play in. And having gratitude for life itself. And taking a deep breath through the body, allowing your attention and awareness to focus where is going to be the most optimal for moving forward with the rest of your day. Grounded, connected, relaxed, focused. And then when you're ready, taking a deep breath and opening your eyes to the space around you. And just letting yourself be and having a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. That was nice. How do people find you? You have your website, right?
Yeah, it's awakenedsoul.net.
Awakenedsoul.net. Boom.
Boom. Yeah, you're welcome, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, that's how you can find me. And I, do different group fun experiences as well as individual sessions. So yeah, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. Let's as I say, elevating consciousness, creating the new earth. Here we are.
Well, I hope your air conditioner doesn't go out over there.
I honestly don't put it on unless I absolutely have to. I actually like getting acclimated to the temperatures.
Yeah.
Because going in and out of AC is just challenging for the body.
Yeah.
And
I've been doing that, and I've never done that my whole life. But I have the windows open, and it gets about 85 in the house. But I'm looking at myself, going, I've never done this. I mean, why am I doing it now?
Yeah,
but it feels right. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm acclimating with the environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oneness.
Absolutely. Oneness. Yeah. Be with the heat. Be with the heat and the humidity. We got this.